geeks, YA, or young adult / teen novels, are the majority of what I read. And I feel like YA as a genre has really grown in the last 10-15 years and has expanded and exploded and blossomed and all those other kind of like booming metaphors, all featuring protagonists usually around age 14 to 17. As a result of this boom of young adult literature, there has been another response to a newer adult audience, the new adult genre. It is just an adult book that deals with protagonists usually around the ages of 18 to 24-ish. What separates young adult from regular fiction is basically the age of the protagonist and usually the topics or themes that they talk about in the novel. For example, YA is a lot of discovering yourself, discovering who you are, first love, acceptance, whereas regular fiction or regular fantasy is more about meeting your destiny and, you know, having a family. So new adult is this somewhat new genre that falls right in between for characters that are maybe already know who they are, but maybe aren't ready to go start a revolution, swing a sword around, or, you know, settle into a solid career and start playing to RRSPs. But because it's technically still a new genre, I find people tend to describe new adult as YA with more sex, and the whole genre gets written off as just more smutty YA stuff. Now, I do not think that we should write off new adult as YA with more sex. That is not the case at all. So the new adult genre deals with themes and topics that happen in a new adult's life. They often have to do with going off to university, or fighting with your parents, or having control issues in your own life, or being in your first long-term serious relationship. And we have more responsibility over our bodies. We are full legal adults now, so we have our own choices to make. We're going to be more educated. We're going to have read or seen or talked about sex in some capacity. So new adult seems to be the genre to explore that more, because now the reader of a YA book has grown up enough. New adult's thing is not that it is YA with sex. It goes into much harsher and more intense themes than a YA audience would go through, such as mental illness or relationship abuse, or the feeling of, you know, being on your own for the first time and having only yourself to rely on. Maybe exploring oneself, themes of friendship, like they're just going to be more than YA. Doesn't mean that it's better than YA, I would just say it's growing up, and the themes that grow up with you. They're gonna get more serious, and as you grow up, you're going to become more serious about friends, about your own mental health, about the way that you live your life, and so that's just how new adult is. It's just a growing up and the themes that a new adult that's learning stuff and figuring stuff out is going to go through. Now, there are definitely certain books that are a new adult, but that are marketed as a YA book because the characters are still somewhat young or like still somewhat teenagers, but they are not appropriate for a new teenager. For example, I don't know if you can see, but on this shelf I have both Nevernight by J. Kristoff and A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. These are both put in the young adult section in some bookstores, and oh, these are not a young adult book. Those books walk the fine line of the main character still being pretty young. So say a 30-year-old person looking at that might say, oh, that's for young people, not for my age group, because, you know, they in their lives are going through something different than I myself am. However, a 15-year-old would say, oh, they're still a teenager, it must be for me. And that's not the case. Oh my god, if you are under the age of, like, I would even say 18, those books might be a little bit much for you. So new adult as a genre is slowly becoming more of a genre. People are understanding it more. There are more things being written for this age range, and I personally really love it. I think it bridges a good gap between having, you know, a perky 16-year-old having to save the world with her magic sword, but also the regular fiction that I read. Please leave down below your own comments on this, because I think that it should be a genre. Some people think that it doesn't exist. It 100% does, it's just very elusive. Also, please leave down below if you have any recommendations for any, because, you know, I've read a lot that are very romance-based, and I mean, that's cool and all, but like, can I also have someone with a sword just in that same one? Or maybe like we're 25 now and we have to save the world, but because we're so much experienced and like a lot more responsible and better at planning things, stuff just goes way smoother. And I will see you all next week. Bye!